Yeah.
All right, so thanks very much, Nichole, for joining me on a very impromptu sort of interview, informal chat, I think is
No
what
problem.
we would call it. So the purpose of this very short, webinar, discussion, chat / interview, whatever, is essentially just to share some of Nichole's progress and some of her journey so far, working with me over the last 3-4 months, I believe. And the main sort of objective that I would like to discuss and try to share with anybody that's literally listening and kind of watching is, the value and the importance that some of us put into like body weight. We get very obsessed about this number, get very obsessed about pre-pregnancy body weight, get very obsessed about, those flashback, throwback memories from when we were kicking around the beach 4 years ago, and I want to get back to this and all this kind of stuff. And then we end up like idolize like a number, we seek that kind of like happiness from being, 70 kilograms or 65 kilograms, or in other terms, 10 stone, 11 stone, whatever it may be. So as it were, at a very last check-in with Nichole, so we're checking the clients every kind of 2 weeks, it kind of became apparent that her body weight has stayed the exact same. In fact, I noted it down, she lost 0.2 kilograms in 3 to 4 months, all right? Which is, it's like a wet crop top, okay? It's like nothing, okay? 0.2 kilograms isn't anything. So in all intents and purposes, her body weight for the last 3 to 4 months has stayed identically at 72 kilograms, which I don't know what's in stone and pounds, but it stayed the same. Okay. However, I will try to kind of attach a few pictures. Feel free to jump onto Nichole's Instagram page to see the differences. I'm not going to take too much away from what she's going to talk about, but there's been some very, very significant and defining changes and progress, not only with actual body shape, body composition, but also tricky word that. Also, the kind of mental side, like the kind of mindset side as well. So it's not something that a lot of us always kind of think about and chase, but it's made a massive difference to how many times she smiles per day and the width of her smile as well, because she's absolutely in the last few weeks and months. All right. So first of all, thank you very much, Nichole, for joining me this afternoon.
No problem.
Cool. So give you a little insight into kind of Nichole's sort of kind of background, fitness instructor, very, very kind of busy as well. She literally does 2 marathons a week, and normally on Monday and Friday, where she walks about 36,000 steps. And the standing joke is that Nichole's quite short. So for her, it's just a very, very busy day. Teaching, how many classes are you on now, weekly?
Only 3 classes at the moment, but before lockdown, it was about 7 or 8 classes.
Okay, cool. And on the weekends, we're still doing some crazy long cycles and all that kind of stuff as well?
Yeah, so 30-mile bike rides as and when we can. So because I work alternate weekends, so it's trying to fit it in around work. And yeah, if I'm not cycling, if I don't have the chance, I'll go to the gym as well. Okay,
so pretty busy.
Yeah.
Very active lifestyle, should we say. So teaching classes, average day, I think we got about 25,000 steps, and Monday and Friday are our excessively high ones. They're at 35, 36, sometimes up to 40,000 steps. And then on the weekends, we're doing the short 30-mile cycles. Crazy. All right. So I'm just going to ask Nichole a couple of questions, and then she's just going to hopefully kind of provide a little bit of insight. So just to kind of start back at the start, Nichole, if you just rewind where you were maybe 3-4 months ago when you sort of came on board, what was your sort of starting point, through relationship wise, body composition wise, where was your, where did you start at?
Okay, so before I started with you, I was using my classes as my training focus, because I never would train during the week. It would always be my classes are my training point. And I would use the classes as the training so that I could eat what I wanted. So it was kind of like that mindset, oh, I've done a good class at Body Pump, so now I can eat what I want. It wasn't about using the right source of fuel to fuel my body for what I needed. So that was my whole, I didn't really have any background in nutrition, and it was never looking at food as a sort of energy. It was just something because I feel hungry, I need to eat. That was it. Body composition. So I think it was like last year at some point, I decided that I wanted to lose a bit of weight. So I did my own thing and tried to push myself more in classes rather than training. And I lost a bit of weight, but I went from a size 12 down to a comfortable size 10. But that was as far as I got. And then I stopped changing because I wasn't doing the whole nutrition side of things. It was all kind of, you know, I've done a good class and now I can eat loads of chocolate and I can eat what I want and takeaways and, yeah, neglect, really.
All right, good. So, yeah, using that kind of food as a sort of reward, perhaps, as to all your kind of training and stuff. But if you had any chocolates and all that kind of stuff, you feel a little bit guilty, perhaps, or you know?
Yeah. So I'd eat it and I go, I know I should be eating this or I shouldn't be eating this amount, but kind of, yeah, whatever. I'll do it because I've earned it. You know.
Yeah. All right, cool. And that was roughly about 3-4 months ago. So in terms of like now, and again, back then, body confidence wise, on a scale of like 0 to 10, how body or self-confident would you have said you were?
2. It was a 2. I'd walk into class and I would cover up and I'd have my joggers on and I'd you know, take them down, have my full length trousers on, and I'd have all of the t-shirts, and it was never any crop tops, no shorts, nothing too revealing. I'd always walk in and, you know, sometimes I would struggle in class, like sometimes I still do because it's, you know, exertion of energy, but before I would really struggle, for example, in body combat, just to keep up with the pace that I would expect my participants to do. And it was just, I would never feel good. You know, I'd never feel energized and buzzed after a class like I should do.
Yeah.
It was always like, oh my God, I could go to sleep for 12 hours.
All right, cool. So it's pretty good to have the kind of starting point because it does reiterate, it does sound very familiar for a lot of clients that I kind of work with.
Yeah.
You know, they're don't have a big kind of body confidence, quite low scoring, 2, 3, 4s kind of stuff, a bit self-conscious. You know, and the whole Instagram filtered kind of comparison site kind of society does play a bit of a part in that as well. But it's never really great to feel overly, you know, self-conscious. Obviously, when you're kind of teaching classes as well, you want to be a bit, you know, free of that. You want to like walk high, feel confident. If it's a hot day, you want to wear what you want without thinking about having to kind of cover up because you know you don't feel great in your own kind of skin, sort of thing. So very kind of relatable and a very, you know, frequent conversation that sort of ends up kind of happening between you know, self and clients. So perfect. Now I just would like, out of your own kind of words, I know that you've made some really kind of great changes, so hence why we're here. But in terms of body composition, some changes that you've seen, that you found, some nicknames that you may have now as well, and the kind of other important side that people probably kind of don't pay a great deal of attention to, but that's probably the biggest driver in maintaining their efforts, maintaining their motivation. So the kind of mindset, guilt, anxiety, confidence kind of stuff. So just give us a very quick overcap of some of the progress that you've you know, felt.
Yeah. So stomach is a lot flatter. So I always used to, you know, suck it in, and you'd walk into a class, suck it in, you know, the fitness instructors here, but I don't have to do that anymore. My arms are more defined, and I feel I can, you know, stand up taller if that's possible. And legs were, you know, I'd always wear full length trousers and I would never wear shorts to a combat class at all. But now quads are more defined, they're getting bigger, and my calves are more defined. When I walk, I can actually see the lines of my calves. And before, you know, I would just get so hooked up about how I looked. And, you know, as we mentioned before about jumping on the scale and those numbers, and, you know, actually I'm now more focused on how I look and how I feel rather to what the number says on the scale, because it's just the number. And now I've dropped down to a size 8, so with all of the nutrition, so more defined, I feel leaner, and, you know, I get compliments from my mum, and, you know, I see my mum almost every day, and it's, you know, if you're around someone all of the time, it's hard to notice subtle changes, but even she notices.
Yeah, good.
It's really good. Okay.
So, I mean, for like me as a coach, when you check in, I sit there like smiling, happy, and all the stuff that you kind of say again. It just reverberates that all the things that we kind of always been talking about, all the stuff that I've been trying to kind of put across for months and years and stuff to anybody that's willing to kind of listen almost. So it's really great to to see somebody, you know, embrace the kind of changes, have the physical change, because that's, you know, we want to be confident. We want to see you getting some sort of benefit from the effort and work that you're kind of putting in. That's just, you know, expected, I guess. You know, if you put in work for 2 to 3 months, you're going to want to see some sort of physical change. You know, that's totally understandable. And the good thing about yourself is that you've not been too worried, or I've not had to kind of have the talk about the body weight stuff.
Yeah.
You've been coming back and saying, yeah, this is my body weight. It stayed the same, but check this out. Like, check out these arms, check out these, you know, quads. And I'm just like loving life, and I'm getting compliments from participants, my mom and everything else. So it's like, I've not really even had to have that conversation as to why it's kind of staying the same. So I'm presuming that it's body weight now, where you used to have it as a bit of a holy grail almost. Now, up the body weight number, you've obviously seen the difference. Now body weight number is not really a concern, you know?
No, not at all.
No. So yeah, you know, and that's what I really want to kind of try and show to everybody, that's listening and kind of watching, that number is a whole host of numbers. You know, it isn't to do with kind of body fat. And Nichole's gone from like a 12 down to 10 down to an 8. Now, if body weight stay the same, it's because you got a little bit more lean muscle, a lot less kind of body fat, and it's just kind of balancing itself out, you know. And the best thing now is that you're not kind of validating, or you're not seeking that comfort in a body weight number. And a lot of clients will come through and say, I want to be this weight, I want to be that weight. And I feel it's like sometimes saying, well, how would you feel about just having so much more confidence? How would you feel about, you know, dropping 2 dress sizes? How would you feel about being able to wear crop tops and short shorts? But instead of saying maybe you wanted to be 60, what if you were like 62, 63, where you had all of these, like, you know, benefits and progress, all that kind of stuff. And, you know, some people be like, oh, I don't know, I want a number. And I'm like, you know, try to kind of like let go of that number obsession and focus on everything else. Because now, like, you can see it every time we have a chat, you know, beaming full of confidence, happiness, smiling. And that rubs onto participants, rubs onto family members, friends. You know, you're the person that you want to be. You feel confident in your own kind of skin. And it's like, it's a whole new you know, almost, if that makes sense. So just to kind of wrap up before we you know, we don't want to talk too long. You're done, but any sort of advice or any last thing that you would pass on to fellow instructors that have been in a similar boat, perhaps, that, you know, after being 3-4 months kind of working with me, is anything that you want to pass on or share with them as a bit of advice, perhaps?
Well, to definitely sign up with you for sure. But just don't focus on weight. It's just a number, and think about outside of the box, like using food as nutrition and a source of fuel for your body, rather than, you know, you should eat so you can train rather than train so you can eat. It's switching those mindset and thinking, how can I feel happier within myself, rather than being happy by what's on a scale. It's, you know, confidence comes from within. A number doesn't give that to you.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's almost, again, you know, I've just said it many times. It's I having the understanding or the appreciation that being a full-time fitness instructor or having a very high activity lifestyle, you know, we move away from general population. We move away from the kind of generic diet and the good food, bad food kind of thing. It's having the appreciation and the awareness that, like, I'm a fitness professional, you know, I'm really busy. I need to fuel myself differently from somebody that's 3, 4, 5 stone overweight that doesn't really, you know, teach or move much or cycle on the weekends and all that kind of stuff. It's very, very different kind of demographics. And when instructors kind of get that on, like, I'm more athlete, you know, aligned than gym pop aligned, then yeah, I need to fuel my body, you know, and removing that kind of fear of carbs. You know, carbs is like the preferred energy source. If you want energy to be feeling good as you hit Thursday, Friday, and hit that 2nd, 3rd, 4th class, like, in a day, carbs is your go-to, you know, and protein and stuff looks after muscle tissue, it helps you lean, fat loss, all these wonderful things, you know, and fat just helps make food taste good. So when you remove all these crazy ass restrictive, crazy diets and just eat with a bit of common sense and a bit of appreciation, it's like this magical sorcery that happens. And it's like, how, why, what's going on kind of thing, you know? And just to quickly wrap up, the very last thing I'm going to say on the webinar, just for a little bit of insight, when, as you may know, when we kind of started, so average daily calories that Nichole had was just over 1,500. Okay? And activity's not changed that much at all, to be fair. But where she is now, she's averaging 1,900 calories on a daily average. So she's gone to like between 300 to 400 calories more per day.
Yeah.
And she's like dropped 2 dress sizes and has tons more energy and is like got popping quads apparently and defying calves and
Loving life.
So it's like, yeah. And she's great client because had the kind of faith, just, whatever kind of said, full kind of faith, in you go. Have a bit more carbs, a bit apprehensive. Oh, I'm a little bit scared about all this fuel.
Yeah.
Carbs. But, a couple of weeks later and the benefits are showing really. So yeah, moved from like 1,500 and some change up to 1,900 now. So yeah, carbs is fuel and we should never really be thinking negatively about food. There should never be a punishment and stuff like that. That's just a bad place to kind of be. The whole disorder eating thing, the psychology of that kind of stuff, it's just a bad place to kind of be. So, yeah, we'll just wrap up there. I'm not sure how long we've been speaking for, but longer than we had planned. But thank you very much for Nichole for just sent a message this morning. When are you kind of free? Said this afternoon if you're keen, and a couple other dates, and between work and childcare and social life, whatever else. This afternoon was it. So had about half hour's worth of notice. We thought, here's a Zoom meeting. Please jump on and
let's go
with us. So thank you very, very much, Nichole.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, your kind of client insight really, and hopefully if it helps a half dozen people, then that's what we're all about, right? So thank you very much. So anything lastly to say, Nichole?
No, just enjoy food. Enjoy food.
Yeah, team food all the way.
Yes.
All right, guys. Thanks very much, Nichole. We'll see you soon. Cheers.
Thanks very much.
Bye.
Bye.
And end.